Yep, everybody's had to go through a real quick learning curve on this technology. And you know, the good thing about it is that once we get into next year, it's probably going to be something that's going to be in place for a while.
Maybe you get
at least in my industry anyway, in the audiovisual industry. This type of setup is going to be in place for a while. It might actually go, we have a lot of events now that are happening in what they call the hybrid setup, where you have live people in a room, yet you have other people online and, you know, on the internet, also in the meeting. And those have been proven to be pretty successful. So that's probably going to be what's going to be happening.
Yeah, and kids in school, like right from the time that they're small, they're going to be able to understand like how to mute themselves and how to interact with screens. And this is going to be part of the classroom experience. And I think it'll probably never disappear even.
Home association. It's a monthly, bi-monthly meeting. There's Angie. If you recognize the voice.
She muted him.
Oh, that was Sean. Hi, Sean. I just muted you because we could hear you. Did you want me to unmute you? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. So good evening, everybody, to the Westfield Neighborhood Improvement Association's November meeting. I want to start out by saying thank you, Angela, for giving me the opportunity to host this meeting. And I'm sure people will come in as they do, and they can just join in and find their own way through. I hope everybody had a chance to look at a little bit of tonight's agenda, but for those who haven't, I'm just going to go through it really quickly, just so we know where we're going. Starting out, we're going to do some greetings, and we're going to do greetings and announcements. Any announcements that anybody might have that they think is important that the community knows about, they can do in this segment. After which, around 7:15, we'll have Daniel Sturm talk about the plans for a WNIA quarterly newsletter, which as an electronic publication, that should be pretty exciting. Looking forward to hearing that. At around 7:25, we're going to be talking about the New Neighbors Alliance for Crime Conflict Prevention, which basically is going to be having someone in a community be the coordinator for neighbors helping neighbors find out how to get to certain community offerings or safety issues, or how to report something to the city, or how to get the city to tell us something. That should be pretty interesting. After that, Angela will talk about and give an update on the CMDS residential situation and see where that is right now. And then lastly, we'll have Harbell's new Director of Community Services, Diana Emerson. She'll be in to introduce herself and talk about what the Harbell's goals are moving forward and the plans that she has for the organization. And that should pretty much take us through the meeting. So having said all that, it's announcements time. It's announcements and greetings. So again, welcome everybody. I'm David Dixon. If you haven't met me, I'm on the board, and I've been, my wife Suri and I have been part of the community now for a few years. Yep, there she is. The people. There you go. One announcement I'd like to make, of course, is that this has been a stressful time for many people. They've had to learn new processes. They've had to staying at home a lot. And sometimes you just need to relax, and you need to find a good way to do that. And one way to do that is by taking advantage of the classes that my wife is offering as far as yoga and meditation. She's a very good teacher. The classes are easy, and they don't take much time out of your day. And in the meantime, you get some techniques to learn how to relax. And we all need to learn how to relax these days, I must say. So we'll have more information about that as we move along. But now I open the floor up for any other greetings and announcements.
So announcement, I don't know if Jen Cullen is going to be joining us this evening. She's been really pretty busy herself, but she did confirm that she will be holding the Winter Wonderland competition for Westfield again. So I have heard of people, especially during COVID, you know, activities, needing to do activities, decorating. I've heard of residents who have been thinking about holiday decorating and making complex, you know, homemade things for their house for this competition, and she will be holding it, and the date hasn't been set yet, but that is going to take place.
Good.
Oh, and then I think Charlotte can have an announcement about, Charlotte is the new coordinator for the community gardens. You want to announce that, Charlotte?
Coordinating the community garden. I would like some emails so I can email people who are interested in helping. I haven't done much yet so far, but this is a good time to get all the weeds out.
I
If you're
promise
interested.
you, I'm going to get that to you tomorrow.
Okay,
And
thanks.
I see that Danelle is on tonight, and he in the past has been involved, so maybe you can recruit him too.
Okay,
I will get that to you tomorrow.
thank you.
Hey, this is Sean. Is there any way you can post that on the Facebook page so that I can share my email with you?
Yeah, sure. I'll post. Charlotte, you don't do Facebook, do you?
I haven't looked at it in a very long time.
Are we allowed to post your email on Facebook to tell people to,
Sure.
if they want to work on the, yes?
Go
Okay.
ahead, yes.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll post your email on there in case new people want to become involved, and I'll get you the list. I'll get you that tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
And
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. I have nothing else to say.
That's fantastic. And now is a good time to get to working on that too. The weather has been just beautiful.
Tomorrow it will be rain.
Well, there is tomorrow. That's true. Okay. So,
Okay.
are there any other announcements?
Hi, this is Sharon. I'm just giving sort of an update on the Christopher Cemetery, which we haven't heard from the developers at all. The spin-off of that is trying to get something together to preserve the Christopher Woods. That's the properties which include the cemetery. That's cleaning it up, maintaining it, using it, having neighbors use it, maybe for yoga, meditation. I would love to have what do you call it, a labyrinth somewhere on the property at one point. The Baltimore Green Space said that they would be interested in helping, but they have certain guidelines that we would have to follow in order to get their support and get into their trust, where they would help with the property tax and other things that maintaining a green space can give us an advantage of. So I did attend, I'm sorry. Can everybody hear me?
yes.
Oh, okay. I did attend a forest stewardship meeting with stewards that were handling other green spaces in the communities. Okay, and I did ask them about, about some type of help, and they're willing to come to the property and give an overview, although we haven't set a date for that. I did express a concern about the underground springs that I thought might be on the property. There was a scientist, his name is Matthew Baker. He was able to use Google Earth to determine the likelihood, but when he evaluated the topology of the land, he said because the Christopher Woods is on a ridge, it isn't likely that there's any underground stream or river or any part of the watershed. So he couldn't explain the wood's tendency to retain the water that we all know has to be there because everybody's got 1 and 2 sub pumps all around in their houses. So Going forward though, there's a Charlie Davis, he's a forest scientist, and he was going to, help me identify some of the plants through a new type of Google. Something just popped up on the screen, sorry. So I have yet to make an appointment with him to show me how it worked. What to do with that, I don't know. So I'm guessing the first thing to do is to set up some type of social presence, like a Facebook page for the Christopher Woods, just like the Fairwood Forest did. To have like a base point. Anybody have any opinions or suggestions or anything like that about doing that?
Sharon, I have a question. I know I went to those steward meetings with you, and I actually spent a lot of time this summer trying to clean up some debris in the woods as part of that stewardship initiative that we had joined in. We don't actually own the property. Is there some kind of understanding of use or something that they would be working on with us for restoring it? Or do they just suggest that we should maintain the property and then simultaneously start to negotiate with the current owner?
Well, negotiating with the current owner, that is like talking to a wall. There's no response coming back. So you have to move forward, just like the Fairwood Forest. They didn't have any guarantee that they were going to be able to buy the property or get it donated or whatever, but they went forward as far as cleaning it up. I rode by there and it looks like nobody has done anything for quite a while.
No.
So, right now, I'm just kind of thinking of taking the steps that I can take by myself. There has to be some type of committee there where there's other people that are interested and willing to meet up or have any ideas as to how to move forward. And there, like I said, they had some type of guidelines that we had to follow, and one of them is you had to have 2 stores are willing to like look over the property. Unfortunately, I don't live next to the woods or near the woods.
Well,
So,
if you want to organize some cleanup days, this is like something that a lot of people in the community would be interested in. We could just identify dates and do some community cleanups. It's outdoors in the woods. It's a great COVID activity.
okay. And I also, the neighbors have decided to use that as their own parking lot where I access it off of Royston. And I don't know how I can get maybe people not to park there on the day that we have a cleanup. What are the procedures? I have no idea, or who to call.
Well, it is a public street and people can park their cars there. And it's the end of the street.
Right, but they block the whole part that gains access into the woods, into the cemetery.
Well, you can walk past the cars, usually. They have a lot of cars at that house.
Okay.
Well, that's great. That's great news. And they can come and visit maybe at some point and help us with plant identification. That's very interesting. Yeah, keep us posted on that. Is Kyle are Kyle and Allison going to be involved?
Kyle and Allison was on the we had a Zoom meeting when we initially met with the Green Space representative, but they were not at this Stewart meeting that I went to. So I haven't heard from them at all.
Well, yeah, let's post announcements for the steward meetings and invite more people to join. That's, yeah, we'll come. We've been getting firewood out of the woods and cleaning up debris, you know, like for the last couple years.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds pretty good. Sharon, do you
Yeah.
have anything else with that?
No, that's just, I'm just kind of giving an update as to where things stand.
That sounds very good. We'll see where we go with that. If there's no more announcements at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Daniel, and we'll have a discussion about the electronic newsletter. Daniel?
Yeah, thank you, David. Angie kind of put me on the spot here. I am a journalist by training and have worked as a journalist for 15 years or so. Starting out in Germany, where I am currently, I am not. I wish to be there. You know, you see the castle in the background. That's not where I am. I live in Westfield. I've lived here since 2007. And I think I've always missed, you know, the presence of some kind of neighborhood community newsletter. Not that that exists in every neighborhood. We know it actually is sort of preciously few such vehicles of public information. You know, we're stuck with the Baltimore Sun, and that's not even, from my point of view as a former daily newspaper reporter, truly not cutting it. So there's a total place for more information. I mean, of course, we have Nextdoor, we have Facebook, where everybody lives these days. You know, everybody seems to live on so-called social media. But we all know that the value of news on those sites is limited. And there certainly, in terms of community, it's definitely not a perfect fit. You know, so many people are left out. They're either like sabotaging Facebook, or they've never quite made it there, or they may be on Nextdoor, but they're not on Facebook. And then it really isn't a sense of community the way we want to create it as a neighborhood organization. So long story short, we were just, you know, I think for a couple of weeks now, talking about maybe launching a neighborhood, an electronic neighborhood newsletter. And I mean, the few ideas I have, and I would volunteer to come up with a dummy version electronically, you know, maybe 4 or 8 pages or whatever it is, that looks good, has a good visual feel and appeal. And I think would just be filled by, you know, whichever contributions we can get. Most obviously, the idea of a neighborhood newsletter would be to create good vibrations, community spirit. We could start off with like highlighting some of the things that we're doing with community greening, the various greening projects that we have going. We're not shying away from touching controversial issues related to the various developments that are happening in the community. I'm mentioning here Royal Farms. I'm mentioning CMDS as probably the top 2 prominent issues, or the Christopher Cemetery issue if it pops up again. And then I think that there's space for a lot of contributions from everyone in the neighborhood. Maybe like a guest column of someone who's got a project going in the neighborhood, a greening project, a community activity, the winter, you know, the winter beautiful house, you know, decoration contest comes to mind. Anything that is highlighting community spirit and community activities, that should be a prominent feature of that newsletter. Of course, I mean, I'm just rambling at this point because I'm just pitching those ideas, but it heavily relies on what's going on in the neighborhood and what the contributions look like. And there is quite a bit of buzz right now around, you know, some of these development issues. So that will be easy to follow and easy to highlight in a newsletter. But what is everyone thinking about that? So I'm just throwing it out there. It would be on a quarterly basis. I personally think we can't really expect too much in terms of advertisements, you're not getting a lot of revenue from electronic newsletter advertisements, but still it features. The idea of that is that we have buy-in in the community. The businesses are also involved here. If we have Apple Auto and others, posting ads, that would be appreciated. What is everyone thinking about that?
I think it's a good idea. Be interesting. And you could have profiles of people who live here. It's like introducing, whoever lives at whatever street.
That's a great idea. And yeah, I didn't even mention that. That's perfect. Like a sense of history too. That we profile people, we profile maybe like historic pieces too, what little anecdotes and things that people didn't know about our neighborhood. I recently, even the names, I didn't know that there was a person named Mary White who actually is that's why we have a Mary Avenue and then White, although that's technically not in Westfield anymore, right? But those kind of anecdotes are and it ties into there is a farm, or used to be a farm, right at Glenmore and White Avenue and Halford Road, that intersection. And Mary White
Farmhouse is still there.
And the farmhouse was there, and that was Mary White, who used to live there. Oh, that's great. Thanks for that. Any other comments?
Yes, I would like to make a comment. My name is Tina, and I work. I live on Alta Avenue, so I think that's a great idea. And also, what I think that we could add in the newsletter, when during my walks, I see homes that are up for sale, but a lot of them are neglected. The grass is not cut. There's a lot of debris in the front and the backyards. What I normally do is take a photo of it. I get the number, I contact them and ask them, even though it's not my street. There's one in particular on Glenarm Avenue, 3500 Glenarm Avenue. And I have been able to get that lawn cut. And it's just a matter of reaching out to these neglected homes that have for sale sign. We shouldn't allow that to be, always let them know that, that I'm from a neighborhood association, and we really appreciate if you had that level of respect to, improve that particular property while it's still being up for sale, short sale, or whatever it is that's going on. Also, even with the apartment complexes in our neighborhood, if there's a dumpster and it's like overfilled with trash, or, and it just seems like it's being neglected, I even call them. So there's always something that we can do on that small scale to try to improve the neighborhood, to let them know, to give folks a social responsibility within our neighborhood. So
it's a great idea. I'm picturing like before and after. Kind of like what happened to, what it looked like before and then what it looked like afterwards. So two pictures and that show improvement. That's a great idea.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you like to see old examples of what the newsletters used to look like?
I think so. We probably, it's a neighborhood newsletter, so it's not a history buff special, but it's certainly, I think, for as long as it's a photo with like a longer caption or a small news piece, I think that would fit the overall scope, and it would match the overall, the overall feeling of that newsletter for sure.
I think she said, do you want to see copies of the old newsletter that used to exist?
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, that would be great. That would be great too. And then even if anyone on the call, the first thing I always do, I look at what other neighborhood organizations are currently doing. I certainly would pay some attention to that. Not that this is giving us any idea of what we want it to look like, but to just see, if we've had a newsletter, and then we would want to just look at that and reconnect for sure. Do you have Can you send me paper copies of that, or do you have a scanned version, Sharon?
I have downloaded, because it used to be on the Facebook page. I don't know if they still are. But then I found an old one looking through old papers. So that was interesting because it was, I think, part one of a 3-part series on the history of the area. So I can certainly email it to you.
That would be great.
Hey Daniel, this is Sean. I'm Angie's neighbor, really like 4 houses away. So one of the things that I think would be really cool is have like a junior reporter section where maybe every newsletter you have a kid from the neighborhood who writes about something from their perspective, whether it's something going on in their school, something going on in the community, something going on in their life. Maybe they're interviewing a veteran, or maybe they're talking to a business owner, but it's from a kid's perspective. I've seen a lot of families grow up in the neighborhood. I've got 6 kids. So it just seems like we've got there seems to be more families moving into the neighborhood that I might appreciate something that's kind of targeted toward families.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I like that a lot. And we could also feature the kid reporters, with a photo. So it could be also for their own resumes, like a first opportunity to write as a reporter. And so it'd be good for the community and also good for them.
Yeah, totally agree.
Great ideas.
Yeah, really great ideas. Really great ideas. I think that putting a lot of these together, that would be a pretty robust quarterly newsletter.
Do we have someone now writing
great.
the minutes? Oh, sorry, do we have someone now writing the minutes so we can try to memorize all these good ideas? Because it is a lot and we don't want to miss it. We don't want to let it go by the wayside. And we just don't want to concentrate on just the newsletter being populated, but those things that we are suggesting that we can actually still act on while the newsletter is being formulated.
Well, I wrote down what everybody mentioned. So that's one in the minutes.
Okay, I just wanted to know, were there meeting minutes being recorded so it could be sent out and we all can take on a level of responsibility and trying to improve our community based on this meeting.
Tina, I also mentioned that I am recording this meeting. So Sharon is taking notes, but I'm also the webmaster. So if anybody wants to help out with being webmaster, I need your help. But I am gonna, do you do webmastering?
No, indeed, okay. No,
because I'm gonna try to pop this video up onto a WNIA YouTube channel and then link it to our website and make it accessible to everybody. That's what I'm gonna do. But that's where we need neighborhood volunteers with all kinds of different skills, but with all this technology that we're having to deal with. But I'm going to do that, and I think that's probably going to be very valuable to everybody who couldn't make it here tonight.
Yeah, because what I really try to do is when I get new neighbors in the neighborhood, there is like a packet that I received when I attended the meetings, our web address, Facebook, and then I have my own little spiel as far as the neighborhood and how we try to keep it clean and safe and all that, blah, blah, blah. And I give that information, I introduce myself and I give that information to the new neighbor, because a lot of new residents really are interested in knowing that we have some type of community association for their new community. People come into this community because it's quaint and it is better than probably where they've been. And knowing that we have a community association really is a big deal. And even when you send me and link for Zoom, I send it to my neighbors and hope that they will, you know, connect. But I do talk about us quite a bit.
That's wonderful. 2 years ago, we used to have a neighborhood welcoming committee, a group of people on the board and not on the board that were giving out those packets. So you just make your own packets?
Yep, I sure do. I don't wait on y'all. I can't. Even matter of fact, you're going to see some signs out here that I purchased. Please do not litter. Please clean up your dog poop. I do that because I can't wait on folks to do it. If it's my community and I can afford to do it, I just go on and buy it, not even looking for reimbursement. And you may see some signs in Burdick Park or some corners of some neighborhoods where I would just put that sign there and hope that people won't litter and leave their dog poop on someone else's yard, and especially in our wonderful park.
Well, I think the neighborhood association should, you should talk to, well, Sharon has, you know, the paper, like, announced welcome sheets. I don't know what material you have, but maybe we can help you out with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're invited to keep doing that. That's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, I can't help it, you know, because again, this is our community, and if we just look, I matter of fact, it's time for me to pay my dues, and I pay my dues sometimes just as seriously to use our name, especially when I call 311, and I find using our name really, in my understanding, I've always heard from Mike that used to work at Harbell. You know, it's important that they record, they have a record of, you know, who's calling in. So when I call 311 about anything pertaining to beautifying or cleaning up, and can we talk about the abandoned vehicles that we cannot ignore and actually call 311 on behalf of that? But anyway, I use your name. I'm calling on behalf of the Westfield Neighborhood Improvement Association. So, but I'll be sending my dues in because it is time. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tina, that's a great idea. I just thought about every time I go to like a hotel, they always give you like a map of the local area, where the restaurants are, like what's in that general vicinity. It's almost like you're providing that to your neighbors as like a good neighbor service. And that's a fantastic idea.
Yes, that's what we have to do.
Well, I think, you know, we can get together committees for those kinds of things too, people who help each other. The whole way that the bylaws are set up for WNIA, you can form committees that work on projects like welcoming and new member recruitment committees.
That's right.
For cleaning. And I don't know, should I transition? Do you, Gabe, do you want me to talk about the next issue that Tina keeps mentioning about abandoned cars and things like that? Should I switch over to that?
Yeah, that'd be a great transition. And by the way, thanks, Daniel, for coming forward and putting an outline together for the new newsletter. And we'll certainly be sending ideas your way.
Thank you, everyone. And I just, I think the notes include my email address. If you want to chat with me directly, send me your thoughts and ideas.
Will do.
Thank you.
I never really do this, but I'm trying to like send kudos for the newsletter. Is that how you do it? No. Yeah. Right.
Real good, real good.
A good first effort.
So Karen Shelley was supposed to be presenting tonight, but she had to go to the ER with a problem with her eye. And so I'm filling in, and I see that it looks like Julie Dumps is on. We are getting a lot of neighbors who have problems with crime problems, and both property issues and also squatters and drug dealing and like a whole range of that. And we're going to have Diana Emerson on this evening, and she can tell us about Harbell's program, the Citizens on Patrol, and how that's transitioning to Harbell's new leadership. But Karen, she said that there's a couple of problems with drug dealing on Glenmore, where she lives, and then she also has abandoned property behind her house where she said there's squatters living in there, and it's just, you know, we've helped out already a couple of neighbors who've had similar issues like that. And what we need to do is we need to form like a neighbors helping neighbors group that handles this, because folks just write into WNIA, and there's a couple of us who are volunteering on a lot of things. We have ways that you can respond to different problems. So Karen wants to create a sheet with like, you know, different issues and how we should address them, when to call 311, when you might want to contact Councilman Dorsey's office, when you might want to contact the Baltimore, what's it called, the Baltimore Community Mediation Center. And then also Monica Jones Cooper is our Northeast Police Liaison. And we can work with the Northeast Police District and also with the city, and we can do walkthrough of areas that are problem areas. And then maybe I'll let Julie, I talked to you earlier today, right? So I think Julie used to be on the Citizens on Patrol, if I'm correct, and she also has a neighbor who's having some problems with crime. And we just got a message the other day from a Katie Schaefer, who said there's drug dealing near her. So we need to all, and also just to announce this, there is a, on November 12th, from 12 to 1, there's going to be a community perspectives on crime and policing hosted by Strong City Baltimore, and I'll send that link out. And I think Karen's going to attend, and it addresses, you know, how do we deal with crime, and also the issues of, you know, police basically mismanagement of situations that don't need to be escalated. They want to hear community feedback about how best to deal with crime today, because it's increasing, and at the same time we have critiques of how police has been handling crime. So that's going to be an interesting meeting to attend. But just on a practical level, we need to report on properties we know where illegal activity is happening. And we used to have a very good Citizens on Patrol program, and it was run by Monique Jones. Tell me if I have her name right. And she has moved, and we have not found someone to replace her. Julia, did you want to talk about Citizens on Patrol?
Can you hear me? Okay, that's Monique.
Right.
She's moving back.
Oh, cool.
Yes. I don't know where, but maybe she'll get involved again. But she's actually the one who kind of recruited me for Citizens on Patrol. And it's been a couple years since obviously, I mean, we've had COVID for like a year now, right? But yeah, so I trained for that, and I volunteered a few times, and it's pretty easy. There is an officer that is at Northeastern that would actually have to be at the station to monitor your, you know, whereabouts, and they would call in every hour and a half or so, because usually it would be maybe 3 hours of just, you know, going through the neighborhood, certain streets to patrol. So, you know, they'd call in to see how you were doing. But there was a couple times when we went down to the station to do those Citizens on Patrol, and we weren't able to because they were so busy, they didn't have an officer to stay there. So I don't know what their situation is now, especially with COVID. you know, how they're working that out. But I'd be willing to do that again. You know.
That's wonderful. And so there's been several neighbors that we have helped out with issues, whether or not it's like, one was a property on Hartford Road that was having illegal parties, and they were renting the space, so we were able to deal with that. An issue that we haven't had a chance to deal with yet is during our last meeting, Mr. Marzullo was mentioning that there's a lot of problems when Ibis Lounge closes at 2 a.m. in the morning. People come out and they're rowdy and they're urinating on his property. So things like that, we can have a group that can communicate with the police and other and other community groups and city offices to try to handle these issues, which clearly, I mean, the economy is having problems now, and we seem to be having more reports of problems than I've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years. So, Karen will send out a message related to that as soon as she's back from the hospital. Sorry, Tina, for interrupting you.
I just want to ask, is there such a, do we have like a letterhead of our association where we can introduce ourselves or use it for whatever reason, dealing with a lot of these businesses who allow loitering, because they should have some social responsibility too. Even with 7-Eleven, Glenmore and Hartford Road, when they had, you know, a lot of trash or whatever's going on, I go in and I may talk to, you know, the owner and ask if they could make a change. But do we get the businesses involved to minimize a lot of the loitering and stuff that's going on? You know, how much authority do they have to minimize that?
We can certainly communicate with businesses. That has been all a matter of people power. Like more people involved in the neighborhood association can take on that role. So I know I see Danelle was actually mentioning that in a Facebook page recently. We have relationships with some businesses and not with some, and I think I have met the owner of 7-Eleven. I think he's an overworked guy, but a nice guy. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't talk to him if there's specific problems. And he would probably appreciate having a relationship with a neighborhood association. We have letterhead. You should talk to us afterwards about that. Sounds like you've got some projects you want to work on. And we'll
okay, no problem.
you.
Okay, because matter of fact, I even have a name tag, and that means a lot too when you actually go into association, maybe 2 people at a time. I'm not gonna hold you, and you know, at least talk with them so they know how legit we are and professional. Okay, we'll talk.
Yeah, but that's wonderful ideas.
Just so you know, Tina, at one point, I did approach a few of the businesses on Hartford Road and got absolutely no response. And I did, the name tag is a great idea. You got some great ideas, Tina. But anyway, I had letters that I was handing out to the owners, but I got absolutely no response. So I don't know what to tell you about that.
Yeah, it's all about really following up and just talking with them, giving them a face-to-face, following up, being somewhat of a nuisance, and to let them know that we're serious, because, you know, 1 time or 2 times, sometimes they may take us seriously, they may not. But it does take a committee, and you do have to follow up. And so that's all. But yeah.
I had one time thought about on Facebook and maybe next door under Westfield, just real quick, the of like taking one business and talking about that business, you know, maybe making them feel like they're included in the community. But I never went any forward with that. What do you think of that?
So
Well, that could be a really cool thing. Oh, go ahead.
I just didn't hear what
No,
you said.
that's. Go ahead, Angela.
I just didn't hear what Sharon said, that's all, sorry.
Oh, okay. I was thinking at one point of like on our social, like Facebook page, and maybe next door, is to select one business that's within our community and like highlighting them, telling people about them so that they feel like they are part of the community. And maybe taking some responsibility in the community where they work. But what do you guys feel about that?
I was just gonna add, I think that's a great partnership. That could be a great partnership with a newsletter, is that every quarterly newsletter you highlight a local business and have somebody from either the association or somebody else, or even one of the kids, go interview the owner of the business and say, hey, why did you decide to open your business in Westfield? Hey, what do you do? And what's your favorite color? And what do you like to eat? And if you're not working, what do you like to do for a hobby? What's on your bucket list? I mean, just get the owners excited about the community, get them excited about who the people are that live in the community, and then make them feel like we're not just an association asking them to do something. We're actually saying, how can we help your business?
Yes.
I think that's great.
That's a pretty good angle to use. If you come to somebody asking, how can I help you? They might be more willing to actually open up and actually tell you what you can do for them. That sounds pretty good.
They also might follow up and be a sponsor for the association. You know,
Now that's another possibility too. That's a very good one.
It's just a matter of
And-
building a relationship, you know, and I think us building a relationship makes all the difference.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, how you doing? This is Donnell. I would be willing to take on the responsibility of engaging the business owners. I think that, like Tina was saying, and I think a couple other people say, it's a consistent process. It's not like a one or two thing, because one thing I've noticed, like for prime example, like the lady who has the candy making place, Brittle or something like that. And I know it's different people use that facility. And then I also noticed that when we had that convenience store on across from Valentino's, there was some issues there, and then the store finally closed up. And I think it looked like someone has remodeled both of them, just the two on the corner across from Valentino's. Well, they ready to turn them into office space of some type. I don't know if they're going to have some type of business in there or something, but it looked like they started, but then they stopped. And I think that's one thing the community association needs to really do, is like monitor the state assessment page, and when people buy these buildings, that we reach out to them initially, so like we don't have the issues like we're having with the Fed House, where we are playing catch up when they didn't own the building for a year or so. So I think that's something that we got to really learn how to, with letterhead, like Tina has mentioned, how to engage these business owners immediately, as opposed to talking to them once they've owned their businesses for a couple of years.
Janelle, since you mentioned that, I don't know if you have the time to do this, but during last month's meeting, we talked about the fact that a new owner has purchased the 3 buildings that were Harview Roofing. And that owner has it's a man, and he has a nurse's license. We don't know anything about what's going to go there. It's 3 buildings. They were purchased in 2019. And, if you'd like to look into that, call the guy up and just maybe find out what his plans are for those buildings. And there is a neighbor who has some problems with the Harview property causing water damage to her property. So that's another reason to try to find out about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to do that, because to be realistic, I've kept a relationship with the owner of Ibis Tavern and as well as and especially some of the businesses closer to Northern Parkway, because I think what we got to be open-minded is that Hartford Road is an attractive space. The challenge Hartford Road has is that it doesn't have a lot of parking, but it's still an attractive space that we have to protect as a community. That's all.
How much do you guys want me to talk about CMDS, or is this a topic that's very, you've already heard too much about? I can give a 2-sentence update if you'd like. Basically, our board did vote to have John Murphy represent us. We are not taking the position that we're completely opposed to the facility, but there are problems with what they're trying to do there right now. And we've really been basing our decisions on information we can find out about the treatment center they wish to operate there and the quality of services that they would have. And they are and in relation to the fact that if it's a badly run business, that impacts our school, and that's our neighborhood school. So zoning is concerned with the number of residents they wish to have in the facility, and this case will probably end up at a city council vote, where they're going to look at maybe it's going to open up issues related to saturation. Right now, there's absolutely no regulations that would prohibit 15 treatment facilities that serve the same purpose from opening up all in the same street. And there's no supply and demand measure there, because if the facilities are getting money from Medicaid, then they can recruit residents who aren't from the area. So you could have parallel services that compete with each other. And that's something that we don't have too much of now, but you're already seeing that in some other neighborhoods. And CMDS Fayette House has announced that they are planning to apply for outpatient licenses as well for mental health and lower level of outpatient substance abuse treatment services that actually overlap with some of the services offered by Harbel. So I can just leave it there and update folks online, and that way we can get to talk to Diana Emerson, who's joined us.
Yep, that sounds good. And yes, Diane Emerson has joined us. She is the Community Services Director for Harbel. And we're happy to give her an opportunity to meet all of us and let us know what's on Harbel's plate that's coming up soon. Diana, it's good to meet you.
Sorry about that. I was trying to unmute. Hold on.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a little cumbersome.
All right, there we go. So I am excited to meet everyone and just excited to say hello, especially during this time where it's a pandemic. But Harbel is doing a lot of things right now. So we actually serve as a food distribution site 2 days a week. So on both Wednesdays and Fridays, individuals can come up. We are a no question asked site. So we're not mandating based off of zip codes or citizenship or really anything like that. We just need to know that someone is in need of support or resources. So we provide anywhere upwards up to really like 60 pounds of food, if not more. And we start at 2:30 up and through our supplies last, which is typically around 4 o'clock. We serve about anywhere from 150 to 300 people per week. So it really depends. But we will be doing some Thanksgiving activities. We will be providing turkeys and also cooked meals to kind of make sure that if folks don't have access to electricity and stove, that they are still able to have a hot cooked meal. Some of the other things, of course, that we're working with, I believe, as Angela talked about, some of the issues that are going on with Turning Point and the Fayette House. So we are serving as a support system there, and our clinical director will also be stepping in to lend assistance there so that we can make sure we are supporting the community and kind of the needs, and really kind of making sure that as a community, as a city, that we understand where clinics and facilities are located, and just really paying attention and making sure we have a clear understanding of the oversaturation of clinical operations within a community. So that's definitely something that's important to Harbel, is we want to make sure we are a continued partner. And the last thing that I wanted to share is that we will be working with a couple of government organizations to really start to narrow down what community policing looks like. One of the things that we've definitely learned over the past year is that policing in each individual community looks different. Every community has different needs, and we really can't continue to lump policing concerns into one big category. That we want to make sure that we are taking police concerns as it affects each individual neighborhood separately. So we are looking at some, I'd like to say, very unique community policing models, which hopefully I will be able to share a very different presentation, hopefully in December, as to what that potentially will look like. But as of right now, with COVID restrictions, our office is open and running our regular scheduled hours. Feel free to come see me in the office at 5807 Hartford Road, or feel free to email me or call. And one of the last things that we'll be doing, and I will put that information in the chat, but one of the last things that we will be doing is also providing folks with PPE. As we've seen, some of the restrictions are quickly being walked back, as we've seen spikes in cases across the city and of course across the state. As folks are in need of PPE, we will be able to provide folks with hand sanitizer and masks and all of that as we start to look at further restrictions as we get into the holidays. But if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer anything that I can.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you, Diana. Really appreciate you coming in and sharing this information with us.
Not a problem. And I just put my information in the chat should anyone need to reach out to me. My cell phone is that last number, which is usually the best number to reach me at.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or any comments or anything they'd like to get into? If not, then again, Diana, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So at this point, we've pretty much gone through pretty much all of our agenda, unless there's something else that someone would like to add.
A couple of people got knocked out, and I just let them back in. I'm not sure what happened there. This was a wonderful meeting. Dave, if you would like to do that job more often, you're welcome to.
I think I can sit in for a few times. I think it'll help. It'll help